This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, and we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 19th of February 2020, and I am DM.
I'm Tuam.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines this morning, here they are. In the Standard, what went wrong? In the Star, American in a Chesa scam worked with Nyeri County. And in the Daily Nation, more arrests loom in fake gun tender probe.
Yes.
So we're still talking about the Chesa scandal.
Yes.
The 39.5 billion tender military scandal.
You're calling it the Chesa scandal, but the papers are calling it the RUTO scandal.
Oh, the RUTO scandal. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's happening here? What's happening in the Standard? It's a very catchy headline.
Gentlemen, there is no context here. The Standard has really just written a mini novel called The Tribulations of William Ruto. They have begun with a statement of fact, which is that since the handshake between Raila and Uhuru, things have been going really badly for the deputy president. The second thing is a hypothetical projection. They have said that central Kenya looks like they're going to field a presidential candidate.
Oh, wow.
That is not William Ruto. And that is why, according to the interpretation, Ruto must go, must be taken out of the picture. Then they have made a declaration of judgment that Ruto's credibility is questionable. This is following the fake arms story that we've been seeing in the papers. Then they have posed a predictive question, saying that while antagonism between the president and the DP has been through proxies since 2018, it is now coming to the fore that the president is going for the jugular.
Oh, yes.
And as the president closes in on Ruto, the question is whether Ruto is going to stand down or back off, as Jem was prescribing yesterday, or if he's going to fight. And then they have given a final theory, which involves Raila. And they said Raila and Ruto have been frenemies, or they have been on and off enemies for the longest time. So there's no love lost. But their relationship right now has hit ahead. They've even quoted George Orwell, 1984, saying, "You sold me under the chestnut, under the sprawling chestnut, you sold me and I sold you." And they said that this is the epitome of the Raila-Ruto relationship. They have been selling each other out, but now Raila is going to do the ultimate sale. My question is, does the Standard know something that we don't know? Are they telling us that it is Raila Odinga who is the architect of the impeachment of the deputy president?
Yes. Wow, guys.
End of novel.
This sounds like a souvenir edition. Souvenir edition right here.
But it's so well crafted.
Really well crafted.
It is very well crafted. And you know what? When you find DCI going into annex, right? And these are fellows who are commanded by the president, in my view. It is Uhuru telling Ruto, man, I don't trust you. You know, I don't trust you. But then the question, I think that question, what went wrong? You know, Prof always says, he always says this, it doesn't go wrong, it starts wrong. You see, this story of the arms deal would not have been a story if Echesa was not a cabinet minister. Right? And I don't know on what grounds, you know.
Do you want to ask who appointed him?
No. I mean, I know politically he had his credentials. He gave it to him.
He delivered a lot of votes for the president.
In Western Kenya. But I think the president regrets appointing Echesa as cabinet minister.
An embarrassment to his government. So we've got a three-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines. Number one, is it topical or speculating, repetitive or groundbreaking, and finally, thoughtful or just plain lazy?
This is not a lazy headline. At least I can say that.
This is very insightful. I think we put it in the parking bay. Now in the Star, American in a Chesa scam worked with Nyeri counties.
Now the Star, I think, is trying to blow some hot air on this story. And they're trying to link that, it's trying to say that this man, he's called Stanley Kozlowski. It's not the first time he's been engaged with Kenyans. That back in 2017, he was dealing with some members of the Nyeri county government. But they just show some pictures. The nature of the engagement is not well known. I think they're just trying to group you know, in the dark and trying to find some alternative to this story. But knowing who could have acquired the Star, I do not blame them for that headline.
Yeah, I suppose they're telling us if this person was engaged with the Nyeri County, probably doing an agricultural project, how can he supply a whole country with merchandise of war?
Absolutely. Worth 39.5 billion.
Absolutely.
I think we toss that.
I think, this is
immediately, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the nation, more arrests loom in fake gun tender probe.
Yes.
What we're being told here by DCI is that there were more players in the scam than were initially thought.
Yes.
Number 2, more arrests are looming, therefore. Number 3, investigators have been to the Deputy President's office a third time. And this time in particular, they were looking for CCTV footage from last Tuesday.
Yes.
And what they're saying is, while we were mourning Moi, while we were seeing the historic march from State House, Pakanyayo Stadium, there were some people in the DP's office, allegedly, signing fake documents, alleging that, and entering into agreements about this tender scam. So that's basically what we're being told in this story. Unbelievable, right? But also really gangster.
I mean, it is crazy, you know, and it's a fantastic distraction. I mean, give it to them. I don't support theft, but by the time you're having, you're having a decoy going all the way to the stadium, state funeral, and the fellows signing an arms agreement, in a deputy president's office. That is mind-boggling. You know, that's crazy.
It's also very curious that the DCI has made the third
trip. Absolutely.
So maybe 4 more to go. They close in.
Yes.
I think we throw this.
I think we toss that, and I think we give the winning headline to the Standard.
Absolutely.
Best piece. And so on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. We have a 3-part criteria that we use to judge them. Are they humorous or dry? Satirical or pessimistic? Effective or just plain lazy? In the Daily Nation.
In the Daily Nation, we have Peter Munya, the Minister of Agriculture. His head, at least, and his body is that of a locust. And to complete the picture, he has fillers on his head. And all around him are other locusts, smaller than him. He's the lead locust there. And the caption there is "Locust Solution to a Locust Problem." I think the context to this cartoon is that Peter Munya told us as a country that we should stop worrying about the locust problem, because the locusts that exist in the country right now are getting old. They're about to die. So it's a problem that will fix.
You should have, instead of calling it a body, you should have said it's a thorax. You should have used a scientific term.
But even the abdomen is there, so.
Which we are all familiar with, thanks to 844. So what do we say? Do we park it? Do we toss it?
Well, it's just okay.
I think it's an okay cartoon.
It's not inspiring.
I actually think we toss it.
I think we toss that.
But if I was him, I'd be telling people that maybe we should dry the locusts, package them, and export them to China.
Why not? It will probably cure corona.
Why not? Absolutely. Now, what do we have in the Standard?
In the Standard, we have the President of the United States, Donald Trump, pointing a gun at Lady Justice, who he has just shot. And he has
multiple times,
and she looks very dead. And he has a very smug look on his face with holding a smoking gun. And the caption there is, "I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I would not lose any votes." And this is what Donald J. Trump said in 2016 as he was campaigning. I think what Gado is saying here is that, you know what? It's probably true. He could shoot somebody and still win. And he has, given the impeachment proceedings that just happened, which he has escaped unscathed. There was so much evidence against him. He shot somebody.
I like Trump. He sorts himself out. He barricades himself when he needs to be. And who said politics has to be clean? Sometimes the Americans need to see some form of political incorrectness.
So
that's what Trump is all about. You know, the other thing about that cartoon is that maybe, and that statement that he made in 2016, maybe he said that because he knew his votes were not coming from the popular vote.
Yes.
They were coming from the college.
Collegial vote.
And so why do I need
the
these
establishment was
popular
with him.
voters? Absolutely.
Very clever.
The college was with him, so you know,
yes.
that's how he got his votes.
Yeah, but
anyway,
I think we toss it.
I
think we toss it.
Okay.
Yeah.
On the star, in the star that we have,
Matiang'i,
Yes,
Fred
Matiang'i.
Matiang'i.
yes,
Yes.
lead CS Matiang'i, and he's standing on a rod which is balancing on a fulcrum written Northeastern. And on one hand, he has insecurity. On the other hand, he has teachers, a bag of each.
Yeah, and the context there is the ongoing
insecurity
in the north.
I mean, how are teachers harassed by a small group of people who are just, these guys can actually be caught by bandits, and I think it's time we'll get a little bit serious in this. This cannot be perennial. If
there's currently a shortage of teachers now, following all the attacks on the non-locals.
They are actually being killed, and I wouldn't blame any teacher who is not from there saying that I refuse to be posted there. And they have asked the ministry or the TSC to not post them to Mandera.
And they are right. I would stay off completely.
Let them look for northeastern teachers.
Yeah, but the thing is that the thing is that they would not be sufficient, is my understanding. And so that is why Matiang'i there is balancing security and teachers.
But honestly, that place, I mean,
although he should be standing on that fulcrum with Magoha, isn't it? Why is he
yes,
by himself?
Absolutely. So do we toss this as well?
Yeah, I think we toss it.
Okay, fantastic.
No winning.
No winning.
So we've got a winning headline from the Standard.
Absolutely.
Now, what is our final thought?
And now our final thought. This week we've been looking at the African greats and titans in business and industry. On Monday we did Alhaji Aliko Dangote from Nigeria, the richest black man alive. Yesterday we did Strive Masiwa from Zimbabwe, and today none other than our own very own James Mwangi of Equity Bank. And before we look at James Mwangi, let's look at where he comes from. James Mwangi actually comes from a small village called Rwathia in Kangema constituency, Murang'a County. Now, this small village probably has the most millionaires per village in Kenya.
Wow, there's something in the water there.
There's something in the water, And there's a man called Dr. Bitangendemo, and he wrote an article he called The Mystery of Success. And he says that this small village in Rwathia controls about 20% of Kenya's GDP.
What?
And about 40% of the entire stock exchange. Now, I'm not sure about the 20%. I'm sure there are some Indians there. But if you just take the history of Rwathia and see why this was the case. Now, according to their patriarch, a man who's still alive today at 102 years old, he's called Gerald Gekonyo. He said that in the 1930s, they moved from Kangema to Nairobi, right, the city center. And then they started buying vegetables at Marigiti market and selling them to Indians, right? Slowly by slowly started making a little bit of money, but then because there were no banks for Africans, they used to give that money to one of them who would take it back to Kangema, and then they would do business. Now they became a little bit successful. Now they go take money, restock, and then take the savings back. 7 years later, when the Indians were moving out of a place called Pumwani, right? They got a little bit of money and started buying properties there. Now, some years later, the Indians, because now during the emergency period, they were afraid of the Mau Mau. Okay.
This is now the 50s.
This is the 50s. So they decided to move back to India and sell back their businesses. Who was at hand to buy their business?
The Rwathia boys.
It was the Rwathia boys. And the Rwathia boys would not have been successful, by the way, if it was not for the fear factor of the Mau Mau. Now, these guys have gone to own literally probably 80% of Nairobi and Nairobi city center.
Really?
Because yes, from Tomboya Street to Nyamakema to River Road to uptown Nairobi, a lot of them own the buildings. Now, much of these guys who went to these schools did not go, I mean, who built this property did not go to school, right? But they were able to make something out of nothing.
They had a natural
way of
business,
aptitude of making money.
even without formal education.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So back to the man of the moment, James Mwangi. James Juguna Mwangi, he's 58 years old, and he's a banker by profession and a businessman. So he's currently the group managing director and group CEO of Equity Group Holdings. So James Mwangi, when he was growing up, his family was struggling to raise school fees for him when he was in primary school. And so very early on, he had to step up and engage in small businesses in order to supplement the family income. So unconsciously, he started learning business methods when he was very young. You know, the art of negotiation or adding value to very mundane commodities and making money. Fast forward to 1993, James Mwangi was approached by Chairman Peter Munga and the late John Mwangi, who was the CEO of what was then Equity Building Society. I believe that's what it was called then.
Can I stop you slightly there? Now you've mentioned Peter Munga. Peter Munga was actually a casual laborer for this man called Gerald Gekonyo, the man I mentioned the story. But also a story is told that when John Mishuki used to play tennis in Kangema,
the former minister,
the late minister John Mishuki of Kangema, when he used to play tennis, the man who would pick his the little tennis balls outside the court and throw them back to the court was Peter Munga.
Wow. Humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings.
And then in 1993, he's approaching James Mwangi because they wanted him to help them fold the company, because at that time they were technically insolvent. And the reason they went for James Mwangi is because he had this reputation of being an honest man, which was a commodity that was very rare at that time in the business world. So James Mwangi comes in, but instead of helping them fold the company, he decided to take up the challenge to turn the company around. Which he did. In the by 1993, they were making an annual loss of 5 million, and a few years later, they were making profits of 30 million shillings. Long story short, James Mwangi built Equity Group that we know right now from the ground up, and he introduced innovations such as agency banking. You know, the thing that allows customers to go and do bank transactions in their local shopping centers, mobile banking. But most importantly, he opened up banking for a demographic of people who did not have access to it. Like peasant farmers, like hawkers. You know, at that time, banking was the preserve of people of means.
Absolutely.
Now, James Mwangi is probably one of the most respected Africans in the world. Or personality is not even just in business. And one sign of this is in 2012, he won the very prestigious Ernst and Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. Now, this prize is considered to be the Olympics of business or the World Cup of business. The caliber of people that usually get awarded are the heads of pharmaceuticals that are like the biggest pharmaceutical company globally, the biggest owners of shipping companies and so on and so forth. So you can imagine that the person who was most surprised to win that award was James Mwangi himself. I read an article on Forbes magazine where he himself was saying how intimidated he was when he was invited to Monte Carlo in Monaco to receive the award. He said he went there by commercial jet, commercial plane like anybody else. But other attendants and nominees came in private jets. And when they, from the airport, he was driven 45 minutes drive to the hotel where he was receiving the prize. People were taken there by, choppers. He said when he was in his hotel room, he was looking outside the window and he could just see yachts and boats, and he's like, I am very far away from Rwadia. This boy from Rwadia, they called his name as the winner, and he said nobody cheered because they didn't know who he was, except the Nigerians and South Africans who were on his table, and they started singing happy African song. So this guy, he has such recognition in the continent and globally. In fact, I believe he's not getting his dues. He's not getting his recognition.
But you remember when we went to DRC, I mean, everybody's speaking about James Mwangi, and they're all talking about him in French. That's how you know you're big.
He's a true African
a real trailblazer.
When we were talking about Dangote, you even sang a song that a Nigerian singer, Burna Boy, has sung. So Sauti Sol, please do a James Mwangi song.
Absolutely. Now, there's two lessons that we learn from these people of Kangema, and in particular the folks of Rwadia. right? And I'll borrow from Tim Ferriss, who authored the book Tools of Titans. And these are lessons that the people of Radia faithfully live up to. First, working a really tough job will give you the perspective and the drive you need to succeed. And what Ferriss is saying here is as follows. Most people believe that hard work will bring success, but there's also nothing like a hard job to make you want to be successful. So in the book, Ferriss gives an example of a guy called Chris Sacca. Chris Sacca is an American venture capitalist, a company advisor as well, and somebody who's invested in things like Uber. And he's based in California. And he says the Sacca children, their summer holidays growing up were split into two halves. So during the first half, they typically interned in very high-powered setups, very established white-collar kind of setups, right? So for instance, at the age of 12, Chris Sacca was teamed up with his god brother, the father of whom was a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. And so during that summer, Chris sat in on meetings with members of Congress and learned how to convince them to endorse a bill. So that was
12.
At 12. This is the experience he was getting at 12. That was the first half of the holiday. But here's the second half of the holiday. The Sacca children, him and his brother, were sent to work on less prestigious jobs. So on one of those occasions, he was sent to service septic tanks. So he spent weeks cleaning off excrement, lugging filthy buckets, and being bossed around. Much in the same way that Peter Munga and James Mwangi had odd jobs. You know, they grew up doing the odd things. And so the conclusion here is this. This kind of experience is essential, he says, because if you know that you want your life to be more like that of an executive than a septic tank cleanup, you can start taking steps in the right direction. And I believe being exposed to some of that really tough manual labor for some of these people from Kangema, particularly in the first and second generations, the Gerald Gikonyos, you know, once again, the Peter Mungas, people who didn't have means, people who had to hustle real hard every day.
Even James Mwangi himself, the second generation.
Absolutely. They had to work twice as hard as I think any other Kikuyu. Because, you know, history shows us that the Nyeri Kikuyu were socialized by the colonialists to get into the civil service, to be professors, to be you know, really educated people who live a bourgeois life. That's why you find so many golf clubs, so many nice posh hotels,
country clubs
in Nyeri. But there are none in Moranga. In fact, we've only got one hotel, No Crass, behind a petrol station that was drawn on a matchbox.
The plan was drawn on a matchbox.
The plan was drawn on a matchbox, like that. And it's because we were busy hustling while the Nyeri Kikuyu was being socialized and, you know, prepped, as well as the Kiambu Kikuyu, who also had the advantage of proximity to being in Nairobi. So that's the first lesson.
Absolutely.
Lesson number 2 from Ferriss, which the people of Radia take to heart. Success comes from working with long-term systems rather than short-term goals. And this is all about persistence, not giving up, basically. So he says, focusing on systems means working on projects that seem to be doomed to failure. And the point there is that people tend to focus on short-term goals like creating and marketing a successful new product. But if such goals can't be attained within a given time frame, people tend to give up, decide that they're not cut out to be entrepreneurs, and go back to their mundane office jobs. And so this is all about persistence.
Absolutely.
And we see that as well with these characters we've just talked about. With Mwangi, for example. You can imagine trying to turn around a 5 million loss-making company,
which
everybody thinks is dead in the water, including the founder. The founder has approached you to kill the company. But James is saying, no, I think we can work on it. We can work on it, you know? And slowly you grow it to 30 million. And then Mwai Kibaki comes in and boom, you're taking it to, you know, 1 billion shillings. And before you know it, you're
hitting a trillion.
Huge money.
A trillion shillings.
I think they currently have the biggest customer base in Africa for a single bank.
I tell you. I tell you, persist. Leaders see through their eyes, through their beliefs, not through their eyes. So on a day that we had a winning headline from the Standard, I will leave you with this quote, anonymous. Opportunities multiply as they're seized. Seize opportunities, and if you seize one, another 2 will come, and from there 4 will come, 8, that is how they multiply.
Absolutely.
Right. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens. Find us on Pang Free to Air, Go TV, and Star Times. Have a good evening. Oops.